Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today we are diving into the book, The Fearless Organization. We're going to explore the groundbreaking work of Harvard Business School professor Amy Edmondson. We live in this highly complex, fast-paced knowledge economy, right? And usually talent and strategy are the main focus of literally any business. But Edmondson's research proves that none of that matters if your team is lacking one invisible, absolutely crucial ingredient. Today in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly what that ingredient is, why the lack of it leads to catastrophic corporate disasters, and most importantly, how you can cultivate it in your own workplace.
85%. Let that sink in for a second. According to the research, 85% of employees self-censor at work. That means 85% of people have, at some point, spotted a fatal flaw, noticed a massive risk, or had a highly innovative idea and actively chosen to stay completely silent. They just swallow their concerns to manage their own impressions. They're working incredibly hard every single day, not necessarily to solve complex problems, but to protect themselves from looking incompetent or getting punished by their bosses. Think about the massive amount of hidden risk that represents for any organization.
To understand how to fix this, we have to look at a massive paradox Edmondson encountered early in her career. She was conducting research in hospitals, and she basically assumed that the highest-performing nursing teams would naturally report the fewest medication errors. Makes sense, right? But when the data came back, it showed the exact opposite. The top-rated teams were reporting the highest number of errors. So why did the best hospital teams make the most errors? Well, actually, scratch that. They weren't making more mistakes. They simply worked in an environment where they felt safe enough to admit them, discuss them, and fix the root causes before they became fatal.
And that discovery builds right into the absolute core concept of this explainer, psychological safety. Edmondson essentially coined this term to describe a very specific group climate. It's a shared belief, held by members of a team, that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. In practice, this means people feel completely comfortable speaking up, asking seemingly basic questions, admitting mistakes, or pitching half-formed ideas without any fear of humiliation, punishment, or career damage. It's the confidence that you won't be sidelined just for being human. Now, right here is a clear distinction, because this is where almost everyone gets tripped up. When people hear psychological safety, they often roll their eyes and assume it's just performative, feel-good HR talk. They think it means just being nice, or lowering performance standards, creating a shield from accountability, or altogether avoiding conflict. It is none of those things. It's actually about enabling intense candor, vulnerability, and productive disagreement. It's a guarantee that your ideas won't be mocked, not a guarantee that your ideas will always be praised.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The High Performance Matrix, Balancing Safety and Standards.
To really grasp how safety drives results, we need to look at how it intersects with performance. You see, safety and standards are two completely independent axes. It's like a giant puzzle. If you have low standards and low safety, you are in the apathy zone. People just do the bare minimum and, frankly, they don't care. Now, if you have high safety but low standards, you're in the comfort zone. It's a pleasant place to work, people are friendly, but it's incredibly complacent and absolutely nothing innovative gets done. The real danger, however, lies in the third quadrant, the anxiety zone, and this brilliantly illustrates the day-to-day reality of so many modern corporate environments. This is exactly what happens when you enforce incredibly high-performance standards, but you provide very low psychological safety. The pressure is immense. People are terrified of missing targets. So what happens? They hide their problems. They bury their mistakes deep down. Compliance and pure survival completely overwrite innovation. Let's trace exactly what happens when you trap your team in that anxiety zone. It creates this terrifying timeline of silence. On day 1, an employee simply self-censors to avoid an awkward conversation with a defensive boss. Seems harmless enough, right? But by month 6, because no one is speaking up, those hidden, unaddressed problems begin to fester and grow in the dark. By year 1, without a free exchange of ideas, team innovation completely dies. And by year 3, those hidden problems inevitably explode into a catastrophic, very public failure.
Need proof? Stifling dissent isn't just an interpersonal issue. It is a billion-dollar operational liability. Look at the Volkswagen emissions scandal. Engineers knew the targets were impossible, but the culture was so toxic and top-down they were terrified to speak up, so they literally built cheating software instead. Look at Wells Fargo. Intense sales pressure combined with a culture where flagging unethical behavior got you fired led to millions of fraudulent accounts. Think of the NASA Columbia disaster, where engineers suspected foam strike damage but felt leadership wouldn't take their concerns seriously. Or Nokia, whose middle managers hid the truth about their outdated operating system from executives until it was way too late. Fear causes real, monumental damage.
We want to completely avoid that. The ultimate goal, up there in the upper right quadrant of our matrix, is the learning zone. This is where high safety meets high standards. People push each other, they take big risks, and most importantly, they surface problems early because they trust it absolutely won't be held against them. A fantastic example of this is Pixar's famous brain trust sessions, where they practice blunt, candid feedback on films in progress. They totally separate the critique of the work from the ego and status of the creator.
So, the crucial point is moving from theory to what managers can actually do on Monday morning. Section 2. The Leader's Playbook, Building a Fearless Culture.
So how do we actually build this fearless culture? Edmondson provides a highly actionable 3-step framework that equips leaders with the exact tools needed to cultivate this within their own teams. Step 1 is setting the stage. Step 2 is inviting participation. And Step 3 is responding productively. Let's break down exactly what each of these requires.
Step 1. Set the stage. You have to explicitly reframe the work your team is doing. Too many leaders frame work as a simple execution problem. You need to frame it as a learning problem. You must openly acknowledge that the environment is uncertain and that failure is an inevitable byproduct of complex work and experimentation. Remind your team clearly and often that every single voice matters in order to catch mistakes early and prevent a disaster.
Step 2. Invite participation. You can't just say, "My door is always open," and magically expect people to take risks. You have to actively model situational humility. The 3 most powerful words a leader can say to their team are, "I don't know," or "I was wrong." By admitting your own fallibility, you give everyone else permission to do the exact same thing. Furthermore, ask genuinely curious, open-ended questions. Don't ask, "Does anyone have questions?" which usually just yields crickets. Ask, "What are we missing here?" Or, "What's the downside of this plan?"
Finally, Step 3, respond productively. This is the absolute make or break moment for your culture. When someone takes a deep breath and brings you bad news, how you react in that split second defines your team's psychological safety for years to come. You must express genuine appreciation. Thank them immediately for having the courage to speak up. Then you destigmatize the failure by separating honest, smart learning mistakes from actual negligence or sabotage. If you punish the messenger, I guarantee they will never bring you the truth again. Building that unshakable, long-term trust is key.
I want to bring this back to a powerful quote from Edmondson that beautifully summarizes the core thesis of our explainer today. Psychological safety is not about being nice. It's about making it possible for productive disagreement and the free exchange of ideas. Remember, vulnerability does not equal lowered standards. It is the very engine of high performance. So, I will leave you with this challenge. Look closely at your own workplace dynamics today. Are you truly in the learning zone? Do your people feel safe to say, "I don't know," or "I made a mistake"? If not, use the playbook we discussed today to start transforming your culture. It takes time for sure, but the innovation and resilience you'll unlock will be incredible. Thank you for joining me, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.